In today's webinar, I will talk about evidence synthesis in rapid reviews and how to accelerate rating the certainty of evidence. And as in previous webinars, today's recommendations are also based on a rapid review series in BMJ Evidence-Based Medicine, and also the main guidance publication, which is forthcoming in the British Medical Journal within the next days. Hopefully you can see it here on the slide. Before we get started, I would like to remind everyone how we define Cochrane Rapid Reviews. So they are a type of evidence synthesis that summarizes information from different research studies to produce evidence for different knowledge users. And this is done by speeding up conventional systematic review methods by simplifying or omitting various methodological steps. So the first part of the webinar deals with evidence synthesis in rapid reviews, and I would like to start out with a few general considerations. So when talking about evidence synthesis, it is essential to acknowledge that the process of synthesizing evidence in rapid reviews is very similar to that in systematic reviews. However, there are a few strategies to accelerate evidence synthesis in rapid reviews. And as addressed in the first webinar of this series, at the outset of a rapid review, engagement with end users is really important, because only by understanding their goals can we then create a strategy that increases the efficiency of a rapid review while still meeting the needs of the end users. And because for rapid reviews, there's usually less time for topic refinement, protocol or analysis plan changes are often necessary. And if there is a need for changes in the analysis plan, it is crucial to amend the rapid review protocol, just as you would for a systematic review protocol. So let's begin with strategies to accelerate the synthesis of the evidence in rapid reviews. And it is important to note that these strategies are merely options for consideration. So their implementation is not mandatory for Cochrane Rapid Reviews. You can also always use more rigorous methods. As I mentioned in the beginning, we strongly recommend engaging with commissioners or end users to identify their key concerns and their priorities. And our first recommendation is to focus the evidence synthesis on the comparisons and outcomes that are most important for end users. And for less critical comparisons and less critical outcomes, concise summaries in the forms of graphs or tables might be sufficient for a rapid review. Also, always consider whether a meta-analysis is appropriate. Rapid reviews do not preclude meta-analysis. Meta-analysis are usually the most useful and efficient way of providing data synthesis in a rapid review. It is important to remember, though, that the same methodological standards as for systematic reviews also apply to rapid reviews when conducting a meta-analysis. And Chapter 10 of the Cochrane Handbook provides the necessary guidance for meta-analysis. But meta-analysis also take time and they take resources. If a meta-analysis is not possible, then use non-quantitative methods such as tables or graphs to present the effect estimates. So, for example, in the form of a forest plot that only descriptively presents studies, like in this example, there's a lot of heterogeneity here, but presenting studies in a forest plot without pooling them can also be very informative for readers. We strongly recommend against vote counting that is based on statistical significance or other or subjective rules. So an example for vote counting would be to summarize the evidence by stating something like 3 studies found statistically significant effects while 2 did not. Vote counting oversimplifies the evidence and potentially misrepresents a body of evidence. Rapid reviews sometimes use well-conducted systematic reviews as a base to address a key question or parts of a key question. However, building on an existing review can be challenging. It is sometimes really easier to start from scratch than to build on an existing review because the quality of reporting sometimes is not ideal. However, if you consider a systematic review as the base for your rapid review, always make sure to carefully match the PICOs and the key questions to decide whether a systematic review can be used as a base for your rapid review. And if there are more than one review, consider the most recent, the most methodologically robust, and also the most comprehensive systematic review. And if you decide to use a review, then update the searches and update any meta-analysis if appropriate. Webinar 2 of our series provides guidance on how to update literature searches of existing reviews. An alternative to building on a systematic review is just to use the studies identified in a review, but then conduct your own risk of bias ratings and evidence synthesis. So that still makes the process faster because you can save time with screening. So these were recommendations how to accelerate the evidence synthesis. I'm now moving on to recommendations how to present the evidence in a rapid review. And here we have 2 main recommendations. The first one is always provide a descriptive summary of the characteristics of included studies. So this can be done in different ways: tables, text, graph. The example that you can see here is a simple word table that presents the PICO elements and additional basic information about participant and study characteristics. But for readers of rapid reviews, it is very important to be able to easily understand the participant and study characteristics of the included studies. The second recommendation is always perform a synthesis of the evidence. So in other words, do not merely present data in a rapid review and expect readers to figure out what the data mean. Always provide some narrative interpretation of the evidence. So a well-written narrative interpretation aids readers in understanding and comprehending findings. And this really holds true regardless of your ability to conduct a meta-analysis or not. And if you are unable to conduct a meta-analysis, consider using the SWIM guidance for determining which elements should be reported in a Cochrane Rapid Review. So in summary, to accelerate the evidence synthesis, consider focusing on the most important comparisons and outcomes. Consider using non-quantitative methods such as tables or graphs of results instead of formal meta-analysis, and consider including well-conducted systematic reviews as a base for the rapid review. And when you synthesize the evidence, always add a descriptive summary of the characteristics of the included studies, provide a narrative interpretation of the findings with or without meta-analysis, and always apply the same methodological standards in systematic reviews when conducting a meta-analysis in a rapid review. All of these recommendations regarding evidence synthesis are presented in more detail in a paper which is forthcoming in BMJ Evidence-Based Medicine.